Welcome to The Other Side of Medicine, a trusted source for education, not medication, for 35 years. In every episode of The Other Side of Medicine, we deliver health information your doctor won't tell you about. My guests are the nation's leading health experts in science-based natural medicine, physicians, authors, researchers, and clinicians. We believe natural medicine should be first, drugs and surgery last, and so we promise to deliver you the next generation of health information built on three principles: common sense, science, and cooperation with nature. Welcome to The Other Side of Medicine. I'm Dr. Christosik. I'm your host, and tonight on this episode, I'm excited to bring to you the latest on how to reverse aging. I'm going to unpack the latest research and the timeless truths that can slow down and even reverse the aging process. That's right. Let me repeat what I just said. I'm going to give you secrets from people from around the world, cultures from around the world, people who defy aging and even reverse it. And everything I'm going to share with you, as I always do, is always backed up by science, evidence-based natural medicine. That's what this program is all about. We take everything from scientific journals and bring it to you so that you can be assured that you're going to be able to get benefits from it. Now, let's be real. None of us are going to be able to stop the clock. We're all aging. We're all going to die, but we don't have to hurry the process along, right? I don't think anybody wants to do that. So we don't want to end up aging like the average person here in America does. And I want you to just stop for just a minute. Take a minute, and I want you to think about how the average person here in America ages in their 70s and 80s. If they get to their 90s, what does it look like? Imagine in your mind right now, someone that you know, maybe a family member, a friend, a coworker. How do they move? What's their activity level like? Do they have extra weight that they're carrying around? Do they have chronic illnesses? Do they have medications that they're taking? Many times people are taking multiple medications. Are they overweight? What's their mental capacity? Do they have dementia? Do they have Alzheimer's? Do they have some of those chronic, mental disorders that a lot of people are walking around with? Do they have extra pounds, especially around the belly, extra belly weight, that fat wrapped around their waist? That's the most dangerous fat, by the way, because it wraps around your organs too. And many people are suffering with chronic liver disease. That's fatty liver disease that's not related to alcohol. That's what's the longest time we've had people who had liver disease related to alcohol. We have non-alcohol fatty liver disease now. So that's another problem. And then we have people who are tired all the time, despite the fact that they're getting a good night's sleep. Maybe they're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, maybe 10 hours of sleep. Or maybe they don't get sleep hardly at all. That's why they're tired. A lot of people are suffering with insomnia. That's another problem. It's another chronic problem. What about their posture? Are they slouched over? Are they in a wheelchair? A lot of people are suffering with that. Or their muscles shrunk. That's another problem, that people think as they age, their muscles have to shrink. And that comes from years of inactivity. What's a typical day like that's spent in those individuals' life? Are they sitting at a desk all day long? Are they driving in cars and, sitting on a couch watching TV and maybe having brief spurts of movement in their life? But yet their joints are stiff. They have arthritis. A lot of people are suffering with arthritis. They have degenerative disc disease. They've got joint disease in their wrists, their elbows, their knees. They have knee replacements. They have shoulder replacements. They got backaches. Internally, many of these people are suffering with chronic inflammation that's simmering beneath the surface inside their body. And they're relying on a cocktail of different kinds of medications to manage their high blood pressure and their high cholesterol and even high blood sugar. People are taking medications for these three on a routine basis. And that's just a few of the chronic conditions that people are suffering with. And there's heart disease, and there's inflammatory bowel disease, and there's autoimmune diseases, and there's cancer. These are all common. And their doctors are not treating the underlying cause of their illnesses. What are they doing? They're just treating their symptoms. They're merely treating their symptoms. Their primary care doctors has little to do with giving them information on how to prevent disease or how to restore their health, how to get to the root cause. They have access to all this technology, but what they're lacking is a roadmap to be able to help them to get to healthy lifestyle, to live independently healthy. That's what we talk about here on this program, on this podcast. It's all about how to become independently healthy. Isn't it time that people start to learn about this stuff? When people get into their 70s and 80s and 90s, they're suffering with all these chronic problems. You know what I'm talking about. Well, tonight, even if you're a young person, even if you're a youngin', I'm going to show you how to prevent disease. You know, when I first got into this natural lifestyle over 50 years ago, I was young at that time, and I was inspired by somebody who was in their 80s, who was somebody who overcame heart disease and arthritis and all kinds of other chronic diseases. And he was my mentor. He was our mentor, Al Couch, out of Hiram College. And he taught us how to reverse the aging process, like I'm going to do tonight with you. So you may be somebody who's trying to prevent disease. You want to be able to live without all those conditions that I talked about earlier. Maybe somebody that you know that has those conditions, you'd like to be able to help them to overcome those conditions. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what you can do if you already have a chronic disease. Maybe you have one of those autoimmune diseases that I talked about. You're riddled with chronic illness, and you have the classic signs of aging, and you'd like to do something about it. Well, I'm going to show you how to reverse those things tonight. I'm going to show you how to feel like you're in your 20s and 30s and younger than that than your birth certificate shows. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. And I think this could be a show that really changes your life, changes your mindset. Now, we got to be realistic. If you've got joints that are deteriorated, you've got bone on your knees or in your back or on your shoulders, you know, it's not going to magically reverse. That's not going to happen. But we can minimize the discomfort when you have those problems, and we can help to bring down the inflammation and help to be able to stop any future deterioration. That's really important. So we want to make sure that you don't have limitations. We want to help to improve the quality of your life. Yeah, that gentleman I talked about, Al Couch, he had arthritis so bad he couldn't even lift up his arm to be able to comb his hair. Well, he was able to reverse that and be able to have full activity, and he worked out in the garden, and he really was able to lift up his hands above his head and his shoulders, and he just was able to have a lot of motion that he was able to reverse a lot of the signs that he had of arthritis. So we're going to talk about how you can improve the quality of your life. Does that sound good? You know, on the other hand, you may be suffering with digestive disorders. Maybe you've got constipation, or you've got diarrhea, or you've got irritable bowel syndrome, or inflammatory bowel disease, or acid reflux, or so many of the conditions that people are suffering with out there. Or maybe you've got chronic headaches, or maybe you have one of the more than 100 different autoimmune diseases like lupus and migraine headaches and inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis or psoriasis. You may be suffering with some of those problems. Or maybe you have type 2 diabetes and you think, oh, I'm going to have to be on medication for the rest of my life. Wrong. You don't have to be on medication for the rest of your life with type 2 diabetes. I've seen many of my patients get off of the medication with type 2 diabetes, and even people with type 1 diabetes who were taking significantly high levels of insulin injections, and they reduced them down to dramatically. to maybe just even five units. So you can reverse aging. You can reverse these chronic symptoms. You don't have to live with these problems. Trust me, you don't have to accept these things hook, line, and sinker. This is not something you have to just accept. Now, the first thing I want to talk about tonight is the difference between biological age and chronological age. Now, you may have never heard of these terms before. Sadly, we've been sold that as we, get older chronologically, that we're going to get sicker. We talked about that. We've been led to believe that fatigue and joint pain and brain fog and high blood pressure and high cholesterol and all those things are part of the aging process. But that's the farthest thing from the truth, as I said earlier. There's this term you may not be familiar with. It's called biological age. Now, what does that mean? It's how you look, how old you look, how old you feel at any age. And it can run years, even decades, younger than your actual age. It's the age that people call the chronological age, the age that's on your birth certificate. Both of these ages depend entirely on how you live your lifestyle. Now, your chronological age, you're going to get older, but you don't have to have the aging process tag along with it. You can go to your grave feeling energetic and lively. Now, let me just share with you this is not about boasting. This is just about sharing with you of what's possible. I just turned 76, and people tell me all the time, Dr. Christosa, I can't believe that you're 76 years old. When they see me riding a bicycle or playing basketball full court or swimming or jogging or playing tennis or working out in the weight room, they just can't believe that I'm 76 years old. You see, that's my biological age. You could have the same thing happen to you if you make a decision to change your lifestyle. And that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. The things that you can do to change your biological age. How you think, what you eat, how you move, the people you hang out with. Yeah, that's important. That's very important. The research on the blue zones, that's the regions of the world, the healthiest people in the world that the scientists have studied. They found one of the most important things that why these people have such a low biological age. In other words, they may be in their 80s, 90s, or even 100 years old, and they have a biological age that's in their 30s or 40s or 50s, and they're 100 years old. And one of the reasons that they found is because the people that they associate with, the community of people that they live with have the right mindset. They're active people. They eat healthy. They're walking, they're running, they're working out in the fields. They're thinking in positive terms. They have a strong faith. They're relaxing. They're finding time to relax in their life. They're doing all the things that are important to slow the biological age. And the research is very clear that the aging process doesn't have to follow the chronological age. Let me tell you about an interesting study that was reported in the Anti-Aging Cell Journal back in 2021. Well, here's what the researchers found. They showed that people in this study back in 2021 who followed a personalized wellness program, and that's the key word, personalized, because no two people are alike, and what's right for one person is not right for another person. So they found that those that found this personalized wellness plan for them, that those individuals that had the right amount of sleep, that they had the right foods for their body, that they had the right amount of exercise, and they had stress management in their life, that they actually reversed their biological age on average by 3 years in just 8 weeks. I want you to let that sink in just for a minute. They were able to reverse their aging process 3 years in just 2 months. How powerful is that? Now just imagine if you could continue on doing that for months and even years how you could reverse the aging process. It doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen quickly, as shown in this study. The biological age reduces quite rapidly. So it's pretty exciting. And again, it just happened in a few short weeks. Now, we're not talking about just slowing down the aging process. We're talking about reversing the aging process. So let's get a little bit deeper now. Let me talk to you about a study that was done with Dr. Dean Ornish. Now, some of you may have heard of Dr. Dean Ornish. He's a famous research scientist who's all over the internet, who's been basically reported in many medical journals. And he's been on my podcast and on my radio program over the last 35 years, several times. And again, he's a researcher, and he has proven over and over again that chronic disease is reversible and the aging process is reversible. This is Dr. Dean Ornish. Again, if you haven't seen any of his work, I encourage you to go on the internet and look up his studies. And so what he found was he conducted a clinical trial with people who had severe heart disease. And what happened after he put these people, these men specifically, on a personalized wellness plan, again, eating the right foods, anti-inflammatory foods, getting exercise and stress reduction, put them on a whole food, plant-based diet. You know, again, he had moderate exercise. It wasn't strenuous like Olympic exercise. It was just moderate exercise. 82% of these people reversed their heart disease. 82, a whopping 82%. Now, this study was published in the prestigious medical journal called Lancet, and that was back in 1990. The study was called the Lifestyle Heart Trial. And Dr. Ornish, he continued his research over the years, and he published in prestigious journals like the Journal of the American Medical Association, and he's reported his findings, again, all over the internet, and he's demonstrated that the long-term effects of lifestyle changes. Now, this study that was back in 1998 in the Journal of the American Medical Association, the article showed a detailed follow-up study of 5 years. And people in Dr. Ornish's original study, after 5 years, even had a greater regression of their heart disease, of their atherosclerosis, of their arteries being blocked. And again, they had an experimental group and a control group. And so there's no question about it that these processes, these heart diseases and other kinds of chronic disease are reversible. But has your doctor ever talked to you about any of these things? Typically, doctors don't talk about these things. All they do is get out a prescription pad and they give you more medications or they schedule you for surgeries. They don't talk to you about how the body's able to reverse heart disease like this. 82%? Yeah, I think 82%. That's a whopping amount of people getting reversal of heart disease. So, again, I can almost guarantee your doctor hasn't talked to you about these things. But the good news is that you make these lifestyle changes and you can reverse the plaque in your arteries. The plaque in your arteries will actually reverse. The blood flow will increase. You'll have fewer symptoms of heart disease, and the reversal of serious heart disease can occur. Now, if nutrition can reverse heart disease, imagine what it can do for your energy and for your focus and for your skin and your joints and your memory. And this is what I'm talking to you about tonight. And the listening audience here on the other side of medicine and my patients have been getting this information from me for decades. For over 30 years, I've been talking about this stuff. This is not a gimmick, folks. This is reality. Your body heals itself, and you can maintain health into the 70s, 80s, and 90s and beyond if you make the right lifestyle choices. I hope that excites you. Now, let's talk about food a little bit more because I love to eat. And I know most of you like to eat too. And you should. Food is something we should enjoy, but food is also medicine. But what many people are told in books and on the internet is that carbohydrates are bad. Carbohydrates are not bad, folks. Carbohydrates are not the devil in disguise. People from around the world have been eating carbohydrates for tens of thousands of years. It's been the mainstay of people's diet, and they weren't overweight, and they didn't have so much chronic disease like we have today. And people around the world today, the healthiest populations, like the people in the blue zones, eat carbohydrates. They eat whole grains, they eat beans and legumes. And they enjoy these foods, and you can too. So again, what I've done for you and what I've done for people over the years is I've published books. And one of my books that is called Carbohydrates from Heaven and Carbohydrates from Hell. Carbs from Heaven and Carbs from Hell is a book that really helps people to understand the practical benefits of carbohydrates. As a matter of fact, I have this book right here. Let me get it for you. Give me a second. Here it is. Carbs from Heaven and Carbs from Hell. And by the way, this book actually, you can get it for free. I'm giving you a $16.95 value book that you have. If you go on the internet and you go to Amazon, it's $16.95. But I'm giving this book to you for free. All you have to do is go to my website, The Other Side of Medicine, and go to our community called Gut 911RX, right on my internet site, theothersideofmedicine.com, and join our community. It's free, and you'll be associated with people just like me and you who are trying to live independently healthy. And you'll get my book free along with a whole bunch of other things free on the Gut 911 prescription community. So in that book, I break down and I divide carbohydrates into two different categories. Carbs from heaven and carbs from hell. Well, what are the carbs from heaven? Well, it's not difficult to figure that out. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. The carbs from heaven are the carbs that the good Lord has made. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds. Those are carbs from heaven. Now, what are the carbs from hell? Well, it's not hard to figure that out. White sugar, white bread, white rice, donuts, and cakes and pastries and pies that are made with white sugar and white flour, and all of that garbage that people are eating every single day that are causing them to be overweight, sick, and tired. One of the carbs fuels health, the other one fuels disease. You figure out which one does which. One fuels health and one fuels disease. Now, let me tell you about a major study that proves my point called the Nurses' Health Study. This Nurses' Health Study was done with over 120,000 participants. 120,000 people. That's not a small study. And what they found is that the people with the highest intake of the carbs from heaven, that's the fruits, the vegetables, the whole grains, the nuts, the beans, the seeds, and all those healthy carbs, that they had the lowest rates of heart disease, cancer, and premature death. Again, this is back in a study that was done on 120,000 people, the nurses study. And there was a follow-up study from the nurses study done in 2019 using the data from the nurses study, and they followed it up and continued on, called the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study. And they found the same findings, that the diets emphasizing the high intake of whole plant foods and the lower intake of animal foods. So a lot of plants And lower intake of animal foods were associated with lower risk of heart disease, cancer, and all causes of mortality and death. And even more recently, another study was published back in January of 2023. Not 2023, they did a study on plant-based diet among several healthy eating patterns of people. Again, personalized diet, and the risk factor for premature death and cancer and heart disease, again, was the lowest in the people who ate the highest amount of plant-based foods and the lowest amount of animal foods. And by the way, that same finding is what's demonstrated in the people in the blue zones. The people in the blue zones eat a lot of plant-based foods, and they eat a minimal amount of animal protein foods. This is not a coincidence. This is worldwide studies that have shown over and over again. And this is what we should be doing as human beings. This is what the research is just showing over and over again. But yet we have people trying to convince you that you should even go on a carnivore diet. It's just eating all animal protein. Folks, this is nonsense. And the thing about it is, people will get some short-term benefits from these things, because if a person has multiple food allergies because they've been eating carbs from hell their whole life, and their system is riddled with inflammation, and they get off of all the foods, the white sugar, the white flour, all the refined grains, and they just go on animal protein, they minimize the foods that they're eating, they simplify, their body gets a rest, literally, and the inflammation comes down. But that's short term. If they continue it long term, their body's going to be getting clogged up arteries, and they're going to have higher risk rates of cancer and Alzheimer's and all kinds of other chronic diseases. And over time, that's what's going to happen. So once again, the anti-aging power of food as medicine is highlighted in many medical studies. So if you want to prevent disease, you want to reverse disease, you want to slow the aging process, you want to eat natural food, and you want to exercise. Because if you don't exercise, your body's going to rust. Your body's not going to be healthy if you don't exercise. The anti-aging power of exercise is clear in the research. And you don't have to train like an Olympic athlete to get the benefits of exercise, but you do have to move. You do have to move your body on a regular routine to get the benefits, the anti-aging benefits of exercise. If you want to keep the body limber and you want to keep it supple and free from pain, then you need to exercise. Let me tell you about another study. I love research studies on this stuff. This what excites me, is there's information to prove all the things I'm saying. There was a study from what's called the Toronto Rehab Institute, and that was back in Canada, and they found that seniors in their 70s, who exercised on a routine basis, that they had significant reduction in cardiovascular disease, and their biological age was like those people in their 20s and 30s. So people in their 70s who started to exercise on a regular basis, their biological age came down to people like in their 20s and 30s. And Dr. Paul, the medical director at the Cardiovascular Prevention and Rehabilitation Program in Toronto at this rehabilitation center, this is what he said. I want you to hear what he said. He said, our research shows that people who participated in this cardiac rehab study, after experiencing a major heart event in their risk of dying, they had a major heart risk factor. They already had one heart attack, and their risk from dying from another heart attack after they started the exercise program dropped by 50%. Now, my friends, how profound is that? So these people in this study, these men who already had a cardiovascular event, those men who had a heart attack, when they started this exercise program, not only did they drop their biological age from age of 70 chronologically down to 20s and 30s, but they reduced their incident of a next heart attack by 50%. My friends, that's what we call reversing the aging process by implementing lifestyle modifications, not medications. And again, I'm living proof. I'm living proof because I follow and practice what I preach. And again, I'm getting the benefits. I don't have joint pains in my body. I don't have a joint pain in my body at 76 years old. I don't have deterioration in my knees and my back and my elbows and my shoulders. Again, I'm able to work out with weights, and I'm able to swim and bike and run, play basketball. That's what I want for you. I want you to be able to have the same experiences. This is not about putting on a performance. It's not about showing, well, look at me. That's not what it's all about. It's about a lifestyle that promotes health, a lifestyle that promotes health and well-being, prevents disease, and reverses disease. I just want to be an example and share with you what you can achieve if you are willing to make the lifestyle changes. And again, you need to have inspiration. You need to have support. And that's where my Gut 911 prescription community comes in, because we meet once a week and I have a question and answer period every second Monday from 7 till 8 o'clock. It's free. You can ask me questions. You can come on there and meet other people like yourself. And we've just started the community, and we're starting to grow. And every single day I send out a tip of the day. So I inspire you every day with a tip of the day. And you get this information, and it's a little suggestion, a recommendation of what you can do that day to implement in your lifestyle to help to build your health. So again, our bodies are built to run, to swim, to resistance training, to do cardiovascular events like running and biking and being able to enjoy whatever activities you like. You want to build your mitochondrial power. That's the cells inside your body. There's little factories called mitochondria. And those are the energy producing parts of your cell. Those are the energy factories in your cells. And the lifestyle changes we're talking about, the foods, the exercise, the right mindset, the supplementation, this builds mitochondria. It builds muscle mass. It balances hormones. Again, it's not about performance. It's about a lifestyle. See, exercise doesn't wear you out. It reinvigorates you. It rebuilds healthy cells in the body to prevent disease, to reverse disease, and reverse the aging process. Now, let me tell you about another thing that one of my favorite things to help to slow the aging process down, and it's called intermittent fasting. Some of you may have heard about this. This is a very powerful tool because when we go into a fasting state, when we're not eating, our body goes into what's called autophagy. Autophagy is when our body goes into building, repairing, and regenerating our cells. It happens when we fast. It happens when we sleep. It's a natural body process. Research is showing that when we do intermittent fasting, when we eat for 8 hours and we fast for 16, our body is able to go into repair the damaged cells. So you eat in an 8-hour window, and then you don't eat for 16 hours. So let's say the way I do it, for example, I'll eat at, let's say, 12 o'clock at noon. At 12 o'clock, I'll have a breakfast or an early lunch. And then I won't eat until 7 or 8 o'clock, and then I stop eating. Or if I eat at 11 o'clock, I'll then eat at, say, 7 o'clock. But I eat in an 8-hour window, and then I fast for the 16 hours. Or you could have liquids in between that, and you could have supplements like superfoods that I'll talk about here in a little bit that'll give you more energy than China has rice. But again, that intermittent fasting is a powerful tool. And again, if that's too much for you of eating only an 8-hour window, I've got some other suggestions for you that I'll give you in a little while that'll really help you. But research in the New England Journal of Medicine found that intermittent fasting improves insulin sensitivity. Well, what does that do? Well, your insulin helps to keep your blood sugar levels normal. So when you do intermittent fasting, it normalizes your insulin levels to keep your blood sugar level normal. So you don't have to have diabetes. You can reverse type 2 diabetes by doing intermittent fasting and eating. And when you do eat whole grains, eat whole foods. It'll help to trigger your cells to repair and to keep your cells young. It'll enhance your brain function. You don't have to end up with dementia or Alzheimer's disease or chronic neurological disease. When you go into this intermittent fasting, your body helps to repair the damaged cells. So if you have, problems with thinking, you have cloudy thinking, if you start to practice intermittent fasting, you're going to start seeing that your foggy thinking will go away, that your dementia will start going away. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time. So be patient. Again, join our community, get support, and learn how to do these things. Because you're not going to learn it from your family doctor. You're not going to learn it from other members in your family who are just eating the junk foods and living, a very, very life that's very little activity. You want to be around people who are exercising on a routine basis. Somebody who's not just being a couch potato. So again, my preferred method is the 16-8 method. Eating for 8 hours and fasting for 16 hours. Again, when you do the things that I'm talking about, you're going to get these benefits. Now, if for example, that's a little too much for you, then you could start by doing what I call the supernatural morning routine. Now, the supernatural morning routine is a routine that you follow. And again, you can get that in the Gut 911 prescription. It's all laid out for you and it's free. The supernatural morning, it's all about breath work, about the right foods to eat, about eating superfoods, having a superfood drink in the morning, and doing meditation and prayer and goal setting, and just having a routine in your day will really make a huge difference for you. That's a good place to start. And you can get that kind of support from the Gut 911 prescription community. And the good news is it's all free. Just go to the other side of medicine and click on the Gut 911 prescription community. This practice is going to help to nourish your cells. It's going to help to strengthen your body, mind, and your spirit. Prayer and intermittent fasting is one of my favorite things to do. I love to read the Bible during my supernatural morning. And you could have your routine, whatever that is for you. Okay, so now let's talk about the next powerful thing, which is part of the supernatural morning. It's having a superfood drink. And one of the things I want to talk about right now is one of my favorites is spirulina. Now, spirulina is what I call rocket fuel for your body. Now, it helps to repair damaged cells. It gives you energy. It gives you mental clarity. It helps to improve digestion. It helps to prevent all kinds of different diseases. It builds a strong immune system. And the astronauts in the space program use spirulina because it's so nutrient dense. And again, this is a blue-green algae, and it has a compound in it called phycocyanin. And the phycocyanin is a nutrient-dense compound that reduces inflammation, boosts your immune system, and helps to make mental clarity. And it's a very powerful antioxidant, which helps to prevent disease. It improves blood sugar, lowers cholesterol. And there's lots of research studies on it, lots of them. There's one in the frontiers of immunology. And that was back in actually 2024 that was done. And that study investigated the use of high dose of spirulina. And what's the high dose? Well, that's 15 grams. And 15 grams is about a level tablespoon and a half. Now, what I take every morning is a heaping tablespoon of spirulina every day. But again, they showed in this research that a level tablespoon and a half, they found that those people who were hospitalized with COVID-19, that the spirulina people who didn't even know that they were using the spirulina, it was called randomized controlled study. They didn't even know they were using it. And they had significantly less symptoms of COVID. They were able to get out of the hospital faster, and they had no deaths from COVID. Whereas there was other people in the group had multiple deaths from COVID in that same study. So again, spirulina helped to show that it increased interferon gamma levels, which is a compound that your body makes to boost your immune system. Again, I've been using spirulina for over 50 years. And again, I've got more energy than China has rice. And I've been giving it to my patients. And it helps with building a strong immune system, helping with to keep your blood sugar levels normal, your cholesterol levels normal. It's life-changing. Folks, these are tips that you're not going to get from your family doctor. I'm giving you jewels of information. That's years and years of research, but also practical information. So in the supernatural morning, again, I follow this every day. I do deep breathing. I practice a mindset of gratitude. I have positive affirmations that I have every day, every single day. I eat these superfoods. I have goal setting that I have prayer time. I have deep breathing time. I have exercise time. You know, this is a supernatural morning routine. These are practices that will help to reset your nervous system, calm your body's inflammatory response down. It'll align your mind with your mission in life to be able to have clear, focused energy. And science confirms what the Bible has taught for centuries. As a man thinketh, so his heart will be. So, my friends, what's the next step? The next step for you is to follow my 6-point prescription. My 6-point prescription to reverse aging, to rejuvenate your cells in your body. To start off by eating the anti-aging cuisine found inside my book, Carbs from Heaven and Carbs from Hell. This book is absolutely free. Go to the Gut 911 prescription. Fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, seeds, legumes, fermented foods. I didn't mention those. Fermented foods are so powerful. Eating cold water fish like salmon and tuna and sardines. These are things that you could do. And if you're going to eat animal protein, have chicken or turkey once or twice a week. Just minimize it. If you're going to have beef or lamb, do it one time a month or just on holidays, or just eliminate it altogether. The second anti-aging principle is to eliminate carbs from hell. Get rid of the white sugar, the white flour, the white rice, processed junk foods. Get away from artificial sweeteners, the sugar alcohols, and all the refined grains. Number 3, move daily. Even just 30 minutes a day of walking, bicycling, swimming, jogging, playing tennis or basketball or whatever sports or whatever activity you enjoy. Do it every day. Do intermittent fasting or fast once a week. Or try the 16-8 method, eating for 8 hours and fasting for 16 hours. Or try my supernatural morning. Number 5, use superfoods like spirulina. There's all kinds of other superfoods you could have too. but spirulina is my favorite. You can have, chlorella, spirulina, blue-green algae, and there's so many different ones that you can, like matcha and green tea. These are superfoods. Use them daily to support immunity, fight inflammation. Ginger is another great one. Turmeric. These are superfoods. Use them daily to increase your energy and decrease your sick days. And then lastly, you want to be able to master your mind. Walk around with an attitude of gratitude. Have affirmations in your life. Work on living with a faith, having a purpose in your life to slow the aging process. Follow these practices every single day. And my friends, you will find that your life will begin to change. And always remember, folks, you're not a prisoner of your genes. Your genes are not your destiny. Your lifestyle determines your biological age. You're the captain of your biology. So, in closing, my friends, aging is an option. You can live independently healthy until you go to your grave. Continue to follow the other side of medicine. Join our Gut 911 prescription community. Follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all these social media, and every single day I post 2 or 3 times a day. We have our Gut 911 prescription community. We have so many resources for you to inspire you, to support you, along with other people just like you who are trying to be able to enjoy life independently healthy. So until next week, my friends, tell your family and friends up here about the other side of medicine. May God bless you. I'm Dr. Christosik. And again, here's to your health.